Greetings, everybody, and welcome once more to the Dracovin Empire. Are you ready to dive back into the world of Golarion, the setting for the Pathfinder role-playing game system? I am your host and guide, Gazetteer Van Dracovin. I can open up a gateway through the universe, through time and space, to take us from our realm to Golarion. If you are ready to travel, grab my hand. I will need a little bit of a tip, which is going to be giving me a subscription over the YouTube side of things, making sure you're following over there. And of course, hey, letting me know your experience with today's topic, Hagreaches. Yes, we're heading back to the lands of the Linnorm Kings to talk about Hagreach. So if you're ready to go there, take that hand. Let's get going. The portal's open. Let's rock and roll. Welcome back, once more, to Golarion. And we've reached Hagreach. I hope you're ready to dive in and learn all about this place, because there's a bunch of information we can go over. And yes, there are some updates in more recent years, but not a huge amount. That's why when we talk about the books that I really do recommend to look into, Lands of Linnorm Kings is your best one. It is from 2010, so it's a pretty old book, but it's a pretty decent job of giving a good example of what's going on there. And there is some updates in the World Guide from 2nd edition, but it's not major updates, so as far as we know, everything's the same. But again, take a little bit of that grain of salt. Hey, maybe we get an adventure in the lands of the Linnorm Kings in the next couple of years. There'll be big updates. I have to do another one of these videos. We'll see. Let's start with the basics. See over there in the nice corner, right there? That's Hagreach. That's the location we're going to be diving into and talking about today. It's on the eastern edge of the land of the Linnorm Kings, and you know, it wasn't always the eastern border. That's the important thing to think about here. Its capital is Trollheim. It's got a couple major settlements, and it's ruled kind of by Freyr Darkwine. Freyr Darkwine is not a Linnorm king. He theoretically will not try to be a Linnorm king. These are important things to talk about. And dwarves, Ulfin, and gnomes are pretty major groups of people here. And they have some pretty decent beliefs and trade in an area that is the, well, war-weary borderland with Iris. Because that's what Hagreach is. The first and last defensive line against the witches. Baba Yaga and her winter witches of Iris. So this is a member of the Black Ravens. They're going to be important to talk about. Let's wait to talk about them and talk about this land. Basically, the lands of Irisin were part of the lands of the Linnorm Kings. But when Baba Yaga, her witches, and her creatures came and invaded and took over Irisin in 3313, they basically dominated that eastern part of the Linnorm Kingdoms, created Irisin. It grew. The Linnorm Kingdoms were falling. Basically, after that first year of war, in which she steamrolled that area, the Ulfins basically were like, hey, wait a second. If we don't do something, we're going to lose. They united. They fought back. They managed to unite along the ice flow and the thundering rivers and halt the advance. And from that halt came the fortification of Trollheim, the center of this entire thing, the center of the defense. And the tide was turned. The Linnorm Kingdoms basically were able to continue to push back. Got aid from the Fae of the Grungir Forest. And in 3318, they were able to take some land back. But eventually, the border was set. And so we get to today, where we still have border skirmishes with trolls, winter wolves, winter witches, various creatures of Baba Yaga. And the towns of Hagreach are armed camps more than villages. Trollheim is a heavily walled, armored, military town with confusing street layouts, and the smaller villages, strong walls, and dense vegetation. These people are battle ready, they're wary of strangers, and quick to violence. That is the nature of Hagreach. That's an ice troll, which probably still exists, but again, it's one of those things. This is an art from the 2010, and trolls, have evolved a little bit in the up until Pathfinder remaster. So let's look at the people of Hagreach. So, the region is a member of the Linnorm Kingdoms, and they've had Linnorm Kings in the past. And that's a tradition that has kept on going. But the thing is, many of the Linnorm Kings fall. Basically, there is an ongoing war with Irisin. And so when a Linnorm King rises in Hagreach, well, what if I beat up Irisin? What if I win this war? What if I get the glory back? What if I retake a lost kingdom? What if? The Linnorm Kings that rise up in Hagreach all eventually become tempted by that, what if I do that? What if I get that? The current ruler of Hagreach is Freyr Darkwan, the Castellan of Trollheim. So he's only a Castellan. Theoretically, he could go beat a Linnorm. He doesn't want to. He hasn't done it. He doesn't have any plans to do that. He's just like, you know what? Someone else do that. I'm fine with just continuing to be Castellan here and keeping things going in Hagreach. Because he's more concerned by being a bulwark against Irisin than personal glory. He's one of the few Ulfin warriors who's like, wait a second. Let's just make sure we can defend against him. So, unfortunately, it does mean his authority doesn't really go beyond Trollheim, civilly, but this respect and morality that he has by being basically like single-minded, we must defend and fight against Irisin, and we must do this by uniting all of us as a whole, is inspiring to the people. The people of Hagreach love him that way. They're not necessarily going to listen to him, he's not really in charge, but they do inspire them in a lot of ways, and inspire many Ulfin people across the kingdoms. The various towns are Huntus, subsistence agriculture, some small iron and silver mines. Garnets can be found in some of the hillsides and streams, and the gems are one of their major exporter. And they get in things like weapons, extra food, stuff that they need, because guess what they're doing a lot of times? Patrolling the borders. So they can't focus as much on agriculture or sustaining themselves because they have to maintain defense. They are the first and last line of defense, as I said. You know, they are there. These border patrols are in need. While the Daughters of Baba Yaga, for the most part, haven't really done anything to instigate the battles now. And we're not sure what the current one, her granddaughter Anastasia, what she's doing at this point in time. But effectively, what's going on is the various servants, ice trolls and other creatures, mercenary bands that are in Irisin, are basically left to do what they want. And that oftentimes includes raids across the borders to steal materials and to kidnap people, especially Ulfin children, to add to their society. Or, you know, evil witch things. So loot, treasure, steal people away, especially children. You know, that kind of thing. It's one of the reasons that, you know, the residents of Hagreach are on tension and on, you know, this kind of problem already. Because, yes, they're not getting a direct attack, but things are coming over and attacking, so they're ready with spear, sword, and bow to defend their villages. And their villages are heavily military organized. Every man and woman in one of the Hagreach villages is ready to fight. And even children and elderly are routinely armed and expected to fight against raids and trained. The entire place is sort of like, you're old enough to carry the spear? Here you go, get to it. Your hands can still hold onto that spear? Here you go, keep doing it. So they're ready for sieges, they're ready to defend, and they're fortified. And basically, they attempt to hold out until the raiders don't have supplies anymore and have to go. It's a place where they have to have enough supplies to basically hold about. There isn't any major military thing that they would worry about major sieges. But again, this method of holding the line has done well, basically. But there's plenty of younger mercenaries or those that would want to have on offense, basically, to fight against it. Is a place for them to go, though. The most powerful military organization in Hagreach, the Black Ravens, one I showed earlier. They are the most elite band of protectors. They swear to fight against the agents of Irisin. They hail from Hagreach originally, but many of the other Linnorm kingdoms have members from them. Basically, if you are an Ulfin warrior, even you have national pride, and you want to help defend the war front in this literal Cold War, you can go there and join the Black Ravens. Clerics, barbarians, fighters, rangers, clerics of Grom, Desna, bards and sorcerers to give their support, arcane people with arcane magic who can launch great firepower. And while most of these Black Ravens are Ulfin, it's not everyone. There are dwarves and gnomes and others that live in the countries of the Linnorm kingdoms that have seen and felt the need to join with it. So you will find more than just Ulfin humans. Yes, originally this is very Ulfin-driven things, especially from Hagreach and then from the rest of the kingdoms. But there are those that live within the kingdoms that are like, we will take up sword and shield. We will take up our ability. We will fight. And we will protect. Most of the raids into Irisin by the Ulfin have been led by the Black Ravens. And they will always be prepared and ready. They plan it in meticulously. Companies of them roam the region from all the way to Stormspear Mountains down to the Gungnir Forest. They deal with incursions by monsters. They keep the more dangerous threats in check. Basically, if something big or nasty is coming in the way, they make sure that's taken care of. The smaller threats that the villages can handle, they let that happen. And larger contingents of Black Ravens basically will rotate through the various settlements, basically reinforcing local forces against raids that might be expected. So at any time, over at least 3/4 of the Black Ravens are out in the field and not in their defense. We turn towards Freyr Darkwan. Why the Castellan of Trollheim? Why do we talk about him? He is also the commander of the Black Ravens. So he has to divide his time between Black Raven Hall and Trollheim, managing both of them. His heart is at the border, though, more than anything. So he prepares, strategizes. He wants to hold back the forces of Irisin as fast as he can. He sees the Black Ravens as a representation of the Ulfin people and their greatest asset in this war. So he requests aids and warriors and treasure from the other kingdoms. He doesn't get much. Most of the Linnorm kingdoms give him a little bit. I mean, it is important to keep the border there, but usually it's gold. The only person that we see seeing white military sent is White Esther. She grants about Freyr soldiers as well, other than money too, sending about 40 warriors per year to the Black Raven ranks. These draftees spend a year fighting the forces of the winter, aiding the protection of Ultinrans, and return home wiser and skilled in warfare. Basically, Freyr is like, hey, you know, there's a chance for your soldiers, your people, to actually get some military, training in here too. Come, send them in. Basically, he's hoping that this example from White Esther, who's been able to send some of her troops there to basically learn, help defend the border for a while, and get better, get stronger. Maybe get out some of that more violent Ulfin tendencies. That'll encourage more of them to do it. The gold's appreciated, but manpower is really what's needed to help defend the border. And that's the other thing, is Hagreach isn't the entire border. Part of Southmoor is the border too. And that's a problem that the Black Ravens can't patrol everywhere. Where the Gungnir Forest kind of goes there too, they can help with that. But the Southmoor area of the border, it's hard to go there because there's trolls and giants that live in that region that tend to be very hostile to everyone, even forces of Irisin. And that's good, but they do worry that, with them being able to get there, patrol these areas, that, these beings in this area, these trolls and giants, what happens if the powers of Irisin strike a deal with them? The border will be unprotected then. They worry about that. And so they have their agents in the area. And the thing is, the people of Southmoor resist them too. They don't want them coming in here. They want to protect their own thing. Deal with it in their own way. There's Trollheim. So Hagreach is cold and desolate and wild. There are wolves, drakes, trolls, dangerous monsters, and all the various creatures that invade from Irisins and their various agents. It's mostly open tundra. with a few woodlands, a few mountains here and there in the various areas. Shelter and options for laying in the tundras is scarce. So every copse and dell seems to be occupied by something dangerous. Travelers tend to go in large groups, and you often will wait until a contingent of black ravens is going their way to provide additional support, because it's a dangerous region to travel in. And so it's like, oh, hey, there's some black ravens that visited. You're going that way? I'm going that way. Great! If you're a smaller group, then you're probably going to be attacked by something. Raiding parties from Irisin, some kind of creature that's dangerous in the area. One of the largest fortresses, of course, is Blackraven Hall. It's one of the best defended areas. It is on the border of Irisin, overlooking the Rhineflow River, and it controls all the legitimate traffic to and from Irisin, because there is legitimate traffic. This can be legitimate merchants who do have to pay a heavy tax to enter the kingdoms, or those that are basically, honestly, trying to run away. Which, if you are trying to run away and go through there, you'll be thrown in the dungeons for a period of time, whether they can eventually prove whether you are actually friend or foe. You know, they have to make sure you aren't some kind of spy infiltrating you. And similar to Castle Corvova and Varizia, Blackraven Hall is built on a Thessalonian pyramid. So there's a lot of chambers and magical defenses, and a lot of those magical defenses do help defend this place. Golems, bound outsiders that were there from the time of Thassalon have now been repurposed and reused as basically a fighting force for the Black Ravens. And that has helped with some of the more dangerous and deadly magical threats that have come down from Irisin. It's another reason that it has held. And Freyr has done his job to fortify the fortress defenses even more. Moats, spike-filled ditches, various areas that can do it. They've even allied with a number of river drakes, basically had them, convince them to live in the moats in exchange for things. So now there's river drakes in their moats that they've basically allied with. A large settlement is Elden Tree. This is an interesting one because it's known for a giant tree in the center of town. That's actually a lightning rod of sorts. Basically, anytime there's a storm, all the lightning hits the giant tree. The lightning oak, as it's known, where it kind of glows and shimmers with fairy fire with hours after the storm. There's basically a way that has been developed using the wood from that tree, basically harvesting some of its branches to create this electrically charged wood that creates natural shock arrows that are magical, that can help with siege weapons and ammunition to defend against Irisin's attacks. Hey, they have some magical electrical attacks from this. And the thing is, though, the weapons don't really last farther than lightning oak. They basically, proximity to the tree keeps the magic from the tree within the weapons. So really, it's not really something you can export very easily, but the town itself has this magical protection against it. Helenrin is another town that's got a shrine to Pharasma, and the village is pretty heavily devoted to Pharasma there. It's not really heavy in a lot of traditions. The shrine is very small. It's a cave with a little bit of water and a spring, but it's said that any child delivered in the spring water there has the blessings of Pharasma. And so, you know, a lot of villagers from Helenrin have strange gifts. Maybe they are blessed with it. Plenty of them become oracles. So many expectant members will travel to Helrin to give birth in the springs there, in the springs' warm waters, to basically bless their children. An interesting little one there. Summer Glen is an interesting location. Let me take a drink before we dive into that one here. Basically, it's a unique canyon that has some relatively good environment there, and it's rich in quartz and crystal mines with some magical qualities to them. So it's home to basically a bunch of dwarven clans that mine this area there, and a bunch of Fae in the forest that live with them. The last city we can talk about here before we move on to the capital is Glacier's Rest. It's on the foothills of Stormspear Mountains in northwest Hagreach, and 5 miles south of an abandoned dwarven fortress. As of 4724, it had been claimed by General Ordulf Bladecaller and named Crownhold. The fortress, not the town, but it's right outside of it. And so that's another thing that's resulted from the God's reign is during this time period. Hey. Trollheim. The largest city, perched on the southern bank of the Brineflow River where the tributary with the ice flow winds north. It's a fortified settlement. It's grown a lot of times beyond its walls, and then it's haphazardly had to build new walls. So it's got to kind of confuse using layout, not only naturally because trying to, baffle your attackers, but it's a hodgepodge of various districts. Some of them walled, others built within the walls, others outside the walls, each having its own character, its own flow, its own kind of citizens. And it basically has trade flowing up and down the ice flow, getting its connections with Kalskar very well. A lot of merchants do engage with some hesitant trade with Irisin. They're highly regulated and scrutinized for sabotage and treachery, though. It's got stockyards, tanneries, textile mills. The scrublands is basically grazed by sheep nearby. Unlike the citizens of many of the large cities, a lot of the citizens here are involved in the defense. Every able-bodied citizen is basically trained with sword, spear, and bow. In public squares and alleyways are given weapon practice. You're ready to fight in case of a war. The various districts are the Bitters, the Black Raven's Walk, the Castle Hill, Charcoal Valley, Elderwood, Girrell's Ferry, Old Court, Riverside, and Thistle Court. There you go. There's Hagreach. I hope you enjoyed diving into it today. It's an interesting location that is kind of the forefront of the chaotic battle between Land of the Linnorm Kings and Irisin. But again, it's also something that Irisin has been evolving and changing over time. We've seen, in more recent years, the rise of the new queen, the replacement of the old one with Queen Anastasia, and how she's changing and evolving Irisin is a thing that may mean better connections with the Linnorm Kings. But again, it's a slow growth kind of thing. She's been in charge for a little bit now, but yeah, it doesn't mean the tensions are going to go away. It doesn't mean the wars are going to go away. Irisin is a country carved out of conquering some of those lands of ancient Ulthan people. And certainly speaking, the amount of terrible things that have happened in this region that are related to the witches and everything. Yeah. We talked about it. And, with Anastasia in charge now, is it better? Maybe. But I just don't see the battle between the two sides kind of calming down anytime soon. So, and a lot of those creatures that are just left to their own devices, I don't see those raids of various creatures and monsters that are basically under this call of Baba Yaga stopping their fight anytime soon. So that's just kind of where we are right now. Is it maybe getting better? Maybe. But I still feel like Hagreach will maintain itself as a defensive line. And maybe at some point in time, Linnorm King will rise and want to fight into Irisin. Will Irisin be ready with the new change in the way things have happened? I don't know. There's a lot of questions that's going on. It's an area of battle, of war, of conflict, of many things, but it's not an area of peace, and it's not an area of safety. It's an area of violence. And that's Hagreach. But the Black Ravens will continue to hold the line, and unfortunately for them, they are in good position to do that. While they are the way they are now, the border will hold for much time to come. In the last 15 years? I don't know. That's a long time. A lot of changes may have happened in Hagreach. We just don't know. Whether we'll find out or not, I don't know. Maybe sometime in the future. Paizo will listen if there's any big updates in that area. But until then, I hope you enjoyed learning. Make sure to check out the rest of my stuff, whether I'm on YouTube or Twitch. If you're seeing me live on Twitch, that's where I record most of my tabletop stuff. I have live plays like Fall of Avansville Wednesdays at 8. I have talk show kind of things like discussing tabletop. I hang out with friends, do some variety gamings, do all kinds of stuff over there. All the tabletop related content, from recordings like this to live plays to discussing tabletop and other similar things, are archived over on the Twitch or YouTube side. So you don't have to catch them live on Twitch. Be nice. You can always go on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, remember that subscribe. Let me know in the comments what you think of Hagreach and the lands of Linnorm Kings. Kind of giving an update of everything I've been talking about as I go. Check out my social media link below. And of course, until the next time we hang out, talk about something tabletop related, Pathfinder or otherwise. I bid all of you out there a deep and wonderful farewell.